Please be advised that this video is for the sole purpose of entertainment. Any views are purely my own, are subjective and may not necessarily be true. I do, however, do extensive research for all of my videos. All photos have been found on the public domain. I am using them under the fair use and fair dealing guidelines. I urge everybody to do their own research. Well, hello, it's Murky Meg here. It's Monday the 18th of May and finally, thank the Lord, Harry and Meghan have agreed to pay back for Frogmore Cottage. But hold your horses, they may have an outstanding bill of £2.4 million, but they will be repaying the taxpayer graciously with £18,000 a month to maintain that Frogmore Cottage stays their base within the UK. Let's face it, I don't think they're ever going to be staying there. For one, Meghan won't be coming back to the UK unless it benefits her financially. Harry, maybe, but he's not going to stay there on his own, is he? Now, it's explained as a rental plus agreement in which they pay more than what the commercial rate would be, enabling them to pay down those building costs with the excess. I've got a problem with this one because it's not in excess of what they would normally be paying. If Frogmore Cottage was put on the market as a rental property for you and I, oh, wouldn't that be lovely? To rent, it would cost us around about £30,000 per month. That's nowhere near £18,000 per month. In fact, it's a deficit of £12,000 per month. That equates to £216,000 per year. Now, if it was on the rental market for £30,000 per calendar month, that is £360,000 per year. That's a deficit of £144,000, equates to £12,000 per month. So forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm struggling to try and find the connection between the rental agreement and the amount that they will be paying. How can they justify that as being a rental plus agreement? Because it's not. If it was a plus agreement, you'd be paying over the market price for what you are expected to pay. However, obviously they would probably be getting a huge discount because of who they know, i.e. the Queen, and the Crown owns all of the estate. So they probably are getting a massive discount. But is that fair? Because the Crown didn't pay for the renovations of Frogmore Cottage. The taxpayers did. So really they should be paying, in my personal opinion, they should be paying the market price. Actually, I think they should be paying a lot more than £18,000 per month. They are multi-millionaires in their own rights. So why, if they're paying £18,000 a month, it's going to take them over 11 years to pay back Frogmore Cottage. That's even without interest of 7%. I say 7% because I've tried to work it out. That's roughly the amount of interest that you would pay on a fixed loan. They are multi-millionaires in their own right, and they are apparently looking at buying a place in LA. How can they justify buying a place in LA, yet only paying back a pittance of what they owe to the UK? It's a bit of a slap in the face, really, isn't it? You know, Meghan was apparently wealthy in her own right, but let's face it, she hasn't really had to pay for anything since she married Harry. And the Sugars are screaming about the fact that they shouldn't have to pay at all, that it's not their property. They didn't own it. The Queen owns it, so why should they have to pay? Well, it's the principle of the thing, isn't it? Because they did have a perfectly good place given to them. Originally, they were living at Nottingham Cottage. This was a small place. It was a little cottage in the grounds of Kensington Palace. They were offered, after they were married, to move into apartment 1 in Kensington Apartments. This was deemed unsuitable because, quoted, they were said that they didn't want to live in the royal fishbowl, and Kensington Apartments was like a bubble, and they felt claustrophobic and constricted. They also wished to raise their family in a quieter setting, so the Queen offered them Frogmore Cottage when it was renovated. This then caused speculation that they didn't want to live in Kensington Apartments. That's where William and Kate live while they're in London. This then sparked speculation that there was a royal rift between the Fab Four, but they have agreed to pay back the £2.4 million for Frogmore Cottage renovation as part of their exit deal with the royal family, with the Queen. And to be quite honest, I am actually stunned that it's only £18,000 per month. To you and I, £18,000 is a amount of money. But for Meghan, it's just one outfit, isn't it? As a taxpayer, I'm quite disheartened. Now, if I hadn't paid enough tax, and the HMRC, which is our tax revenue collectors, if they were chasing me, I'd have to pay pretty damn quickly. Now, I've looked into this. If I had underpaid my taxes, then I would be given up to a year to repay that debt. 1 year, I would have to pay my taxes. They get given 11 years plus. How is that fair? At the moment, we are expecting our taxes to rise because of the pandemic that is going on. Our government will ask the UK to pay higher taxes. Undoubtedly, it will happen. So why do we get shafted and they don't? I want to pose a question to you. Which will outlast longer, their marriage or their debt? I know that sounds like a glib question and a bit heartless, but it's a genuine question. I really do promise you. Because if their marriage breaks up, that a lot of people are saying they're going to last less than 2 years, what happens to the debt? Who pays it? Who's responsible if their marriage falls apart to pay for Frogmore Cottage? Will either of them have to pay for it? Will none of them have to pay for it and it'll just get wiped aside and they can just go off their merry ways? Or will it be part of the divorce settlement of who actually pays the outstanding amount? You know, Meghan has actually got form with regards to some debt or trying to overturn some debt. Prior to ever meeting Harry in 2010, Meghan filed a petition against the IRS disputing $938 in taxes that she felt that she didn't owe. The judge denied the petition and it was thrown out and she had to pay for it. I would love to be a fly on the wall when it comes to tax times with these two. They've got so many fingers in so many pies, or it's alleged that they have so many fingers in so many pies. Where on earth, which country are they going to pay their taxes in? It's going to be a bit of a mess and they'd have to kind of hire a very top-notch tax advisor. Maybe that's why they went for Stanford. Now, generally, when you buy a house, you're expected to put down a payment on the home. Now, in the UK, it's slightly different. We get mortgages and we pay a deposit to top up that mortgage. It's normally around 10 to 15% that's expected. It can be more, it can be less, depending on what the bank's loan rate towards you is and how much they are willing to give a mortgage to you. But if Harry and Meghan can't fund that £2.4 million that they owe for Frogmore Cottage at one time, then buying a multi-million-pound house in LA, they must have issues. That's my only kind of assumption. If they can't pay for both, why are they doing both? Surely you just have one and the other, and the one that you should be doing first is paying back for Frogmore, but that's going to take them 11 years. I suspect what's actually happening is that they aren't paying for their LA house, or they would have paid Frogmore Cottage off sooner. They must have known this information would get through to the media. Hell, they probably fed it to the media themselves. They're either incredibly naive in thinking that £18,000 a month should shut the UK up, or that's all that they can afford right now. Or it could completely be smoke and mirrors. You know, it's kind of appeasing the British public. Oh, we'll just throw a couple of grand every month towards them. Then they can stop complaining. They can't keep having a go at us, can they? Because we are paying for it back. It might take us a few years, but we are paying. My own theory, and again, this is just my theory, is that I suspect that Daddy Dearest Charles will be paying for the LA mansion. And he said, in order for me to pay for that, you need to slowly trickle and look like you are paying back Frogmore, but only give them a little bit. The paupers won't even know. I suspect that they have struck a deal with Charles for him to buy their LA mansion, and they trickle in money to appease the public for the outstanding debt of Frogmore Cottage. Because let's face it, £18,000 for them is a pittance for any of the royal family, isn't it? So it really does make me wonder what is going on with Harry and Meghan's finances. And I think it's quite foolish to brag that you're seeing all of these multi-million pounds mansions in excess of $15 million. And then you present a measly sum of £18,000 as a repayment on the property that you wanted in the first place. It's like the bailiffs knocking on your door and coming round to see you, and you've got all of the latest stuff in your household. You've got teched up to the eyeballs, you've got new iMacs, you've got everything in there, tech galore. Them coming in to say you owe us this amount of money and then going, I'm going to give you £10 a month. Is that all right? I think we should send the bailiffs over to LA and to get our money back as a country. Let's start a petition, shall we? To go, right, we want our money back. 18 grand a month is not enough. The majority of people wouldn't even dream of buying a house until your other home is paid for. And I'm having great difficulty believing that they will continue to pay this amount of money per month for 11 years. I think it's just a gesture and it will peter out and nothing will be said because it's a gesture of goodwill, isn't it? It's to get their name in the papers. We're paying it back, everybody. We're going to be doing £18,000 a month. Is that all right? And then we go, yay, they're paying for it back. They said they would, they did it. But I don't think they're going to continue with that. I think it will fall by the wayside. So that's why they need to settle their outstanding debts as quickly as possible. This is their financial obligation and they agreed to pay it. And it just doesn't cut the fact that it's going to take 11 years. And all of this makes me wonder who is actually paying for them at the moment. How are they earning their money? Because it's got to be Charles, hasn't it? He's still paying their allowance. We know that. So they're still getting £2 million in excess probably a year from Charles. Is he topping up the rest of it? Because 2 million is a pittance with regards to how much he spends. It was reported when the renovations were being done on Frogmore Cottage that Charles had an open checkbook, that they could ask for what they wanted and he will pay. They didn't have to pay a penny for the fixtures and fittings, which has been reported that they were supposed to be paying. Charles paid for the lot. They simply had to ask him and he would provide. So, I would love to know your thoughts on this subject. Do you think that £18,000 a month is enough? Do you think it's justified that they want to pay it back over 11 years plus? Or do you think that them being multi-millionaires in their own right, yes, most of Harry's money is in trust, but he still has an excess of a lot of money, as does she. Do you think that they should be paying more? Or do you think it's all smoke and mirrors and a gesture of goodwill that will fall by the wayside? As always, let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.